Good evening. The state's largest city is in a crime crisis. What's the root of the crime problem and what's your solution? Please highlight specifics you would do.
Well, the crime problem in New Mexico is affected by several areas. First of all, we must secure the border. I've been talking about sending the right skill sets of the National Guard back down to the border to assist the Border Patrol and local officials. I'm also the first candidate to talk about creating a new law enforcement agency here in New Mexico, the Border Security Agency, that focuses directly on the border and partners with local, county, state, and federal law enforcement. But to me, crime goes deeper than that. We have mental health issues, and we have homelessness issues as well, and drug addiction issues. That all goes into crime, as well as a poor education system and a poor economy. You know, as a county commissioner in Sandoval County, we as Republicans and Democrats, no other candidate can say this, but crime in Sandoval County in 2021 was reduced in every single category. No other candidate has that record of working with law enforcement, which is why I have the most law enforcement endorsements in this race. I also have Veterans for America First, which is focused on the border security as well, their endorsement. We will.
Okay, well, apparently we're going to have some technical difficulty with Mr. Block. We're going to continue out right now with Ms. Dow with your reply, please.
Thank you. Crime, we have to secure the border. Border security is national security. The fentanyl that's free flowing across the border is impacting all of us. I'm endorsed by 6 sheriffs, 4 of which are border security. They know that I will keep my commitments to back law enforcement officers. You talk about the root of the problem. Family is the number one indicator of success. And we have broken families, we have lawlessness. Children, Youth, and Family Services is where 60% of abuse occurs for children before the age of 5 at a critical time in their growth and development, and they end up having difficulties in school. And our teachers are spending 80% of their time with these 20% of the children who need our attention the most. They're becoming juveniles who are breaking into your garage. There's no consequences for their behavior. By the time they're adults, they've learned that crime pays. And they're living in a city in Bernalillo where they have elected officials who believe in catch and release, who put victims in charge, or the criminals in front of victims, judges who are not enforcing the laws on the books, legislators that are passing the removal of qualified immunity and making it harder for our law enforcement officers to do their job. We need to end catch and release, pretrial releases. We've got to back the blue, fund prosecutors, make sure that our courts and corrections have the tools that they need. And we've got to look at immediate and early interventions. Reforming CYFD is an absolute must if we're going to break this cycle and address the long-term impacts that drugs and mental health have in our communities.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Ms. Maharg, you are next.
Well, just, I was the chief of police in my community at one time because I needed to take that from the council who wouldn't allow me to do that. So I'm intimately aware of what it is to protect our communities. Fighting crime is going to demand that we have just judges, which at this point, I don't believe that we do. We need to elect just judges and DAs and other elected officials, and we need to hold them accountable, because at this point in time, as I understand, the sheriff's department, the police department, they don't even talk to each other, and that needs to end. And just like the others, we do need to secure the border, because from there, so much crime is coming across, and the drugs, and that is. But let me give you something else that maybe nobody else thought of. In 1962, we took prayer out of schools, and since that, we had a 700% increase in crime in our juveniles. In fact, most of the crimes that are committed are by juveniles, are by young people. So I suggest that we might consider a little bit of a moral change here, a little moral compass, and some more character development of our students, of our people, which grow up to be adults that also perpetrate the crimes. So many of these, like I said, many of us are going to say the same thing, the border, and we do need to do that, but we need to have elected officials that are going to do their job and hold the people accountable. We need to hold our judges accountable.
Mr. Ronchetti, your reply, please.
Doug, you guys asked what the root cause of crime is, and it's criminals. We have criminals that we catch, we bring them into jail, and we turn them right back out on the street. And we're not talking about people that are committing necessarily low-level crimes. These are violent criminals that are being turned right back out on the street here. And the policies that this administration has advocated has made it far more difficult to be a police officer than it has to be a criminal. Remember, when this governor took office, we continued to see a climb in the violent crime rate across the state of New Mexico. What was the answer from this governor? It was to target police and then make doing their jobs more difficult by removing qualified immunity. And by removing qualified immunity, what that really means is that police officers can personally be sued for doing their job. We have to back the blue. We have to tell them we will support them no matter what they need from us. We have some of the best law enforcement in the country here. And when you ask them, what do you need? What would help you? The answer is simple. They don't want more money and they don't want more guns. They want to know that the governor of the state of New Mexico and their leaders backs them up. And then we also have to address the border. There's no question about it. Many of you have seen our ads and we've talked about a border strike force. It's going to be 150 agents under the Department of Public Safety. Their job is going to be to stem the flow of fentanyl and human trafficking into the state of New Mexico, which drives a lot of our violent crime. It's not being taken seriously now, and we will.
Mr. Zanetti,
Mr.
your
Fernandez.
reply, please.
Well, let's think about what we've done here. Let's see, we passed a series of laws that basically made criminals victims and victims criminals. That was step one. Let's see, then we emptied the prisons. We used to have, 7,600 prisoners in the state, roughly. Now we're down in the 5,000s, and we expect crime to go down. Then what did we do? Yeah, all the talk about defunding the police in Santa Fe destroyed their morale, qualified immunity, which other candidates have already talked about already. And then what else did we do? Let's see, we took away cash bonds. Oh yeah, that led to the catch and release that we all see that drives everybody crazy when you hear on the radio or on TV. Yeah, the guy's been picked up 18 times and then he just did this. And then what was the last thing that we did? We stopped enforcing what we used to call petty crimes. How many of you have gone to Walmart and you've seen somebody load up a cart full of stuff, and then they just walk out and the guard's going, sir, and nobody does anything. Meanwhile, same on speeding and traffic violations. If you don't enforce the basics, what do you expect to happen? And so what did we used to do? We used to do it a little bit like the military. We had a uniform code of military justice. If you did a crime, there was a consequence. We took all of that away. And so I'd imagine there will be a border question here in a little bit. I can talk to that at great length since I was a general in the Mexican Army National Guard. But right now, can we fix all these crime problems? Yes. It's just going to take a governor with some backbone.
All right, Mr. Block, because of your technical difficulties, you have 25 seconds left, but we're not going to repeat the question, but you have 25 more seconds, please.
Well, again, it goes back to securing the border, creating the Border Security Agency, and bringing bail back and qualified immunity back. My county is the only county that has crime dropping in every category because we've worked with this before. I'm the only one that has experience doing this, working as Republicans and Democrats. The other candidates talk about it, but they don't have no idea how to accomplish it. We've done it in Sandoval County. We're very proud of that.